Angkor Wat, often revered as one of the greatest architectural marvels in human history, stands majestically amidst the jungles of Cambodia. Constructed during the early 12th century, it remains the largest religious monument in the world and an enduring symbol of Cambodia's cultural pride. While tourists flock to admire its intricate bas-reliefs, sprawling moats and towering spires, few are aware of the dark and turbulent history that shadows this ancient wonder. Beneath its facade of spiritual grandeur lie centuries of exploitation, violence, desecration, and survival against overwhelming odds. Understanding the dark history of Angkor Wat is essential to grasp not only the rise and fall of a mighty empire, but also the enduring resilience of a people whose stories have often been overlooked. Commissioned by King Suryavarman II in the early 12th century, Angkor Wat was originally built as a Hindu temple dedicated to the god Vishnu. This grand project symbolized the king's ambition to immortalize his reign and assert divine legitimacy. The construction involved an immense mobilization of resources, sandstone blocks transported from quarries over 25 miles away, an estimated 300,000 laborers, including artisans, slaves and prisoners of war, toiled under extreme conditions to erect the massive complex. Workers endured brutal hardships, often succumbing to tropical diseases, exhaustion and accidents. The feat required advanced engineering knowledge, but it came at the cost of countless lives. Laborers worked without proper tools, with only basic equipment, risking injury and death with every block laid. Despite the temple's religious significance, human suffering was a constant, unseen sacrifice embedded within its stones. Following the decline of the Khmer Empire, Angkor Wat gradually transformed from a Hindu temple to a Buddhist sanctuary. By the 14th century, Theravada Buddhism had spread across Southeast Asia, and Angkor Wat adapted to these new religious currents. This transition was not peaceful. The temple witnessed the desecration of many Hindu deities, their images defaced or replaced with Buddhist iconography. Religious strife marred the temple's sanctity. As Buddhism supplanted Hinduism, the old gods were marginalized, their worship suppressed. Iconoclasm became rampant, and Angkor Wat's sanctuaries bore the scars of shifting faiths. Though the temple continued to be revered, it was now a reflection of political and religious upheaval rather than stable devotion. The decline of the Khmer Empire invited attacks from neighboring powers, notably the Cham people of present-day Vietnam. In 1177, the Chams launched a devastating raid, sacking Angkor and causing widespread destruction. Although King Jayavarman VII eventually expelled the invaders and initiated massive reconstruction efforts, the trauma of invasion left an indelible mark. Looting and desecration became common. Treasures were stolen, sculptures defiled, and sacred grounds violated. Angkor Wat itself, while relatively preserved compared to other temples, suffered symbolic assaults that eroded its spiritual aura. By the 15th century, environmental degradation and internal strife hastened the Khmer Empire's downfall. Overexploitation of natural resources, deforestation, and devastating floods crippled the once thriving society. Complex irrigation systems collapsed, leading to famine and social unrest. Angkor Wat, once the heart of a vibrant empire, became isolated and neglected. While Buddhist monks continued to maintain it as a place of worship, the temple's grandeur faded into obscurity. Encroaching jungle reclaimed vast swaths of the surrounding city. The great civilization that had built Angkor Wat crumbled, leaving behind a ghost city shrouded in mystery and decay. In the 19th century, Angkor Wat was rediscovered by French explorer Henri Moreau, although local Khmer communities had never truly abandoned it. This discovery marked the beginning of Western colonial interest in Cambodian heritage. Under French colonial rule, Angkor Wat became a symbol of exoticism and imperial pride. Early restoration efforts, while crucial for preservation, were often clumsy and destructive. In some cases, European conservators removed original artifacts, replacing them with inaccurate reconstructions. Looters, both local and foreign, pillaged Angkor's treasures, many of which ended up in museums and private collections around the world. Perhaps the darkest chapter in Angkor Wat's history unfolded during the 1970s under the brutal regime of the Khmer Rouge. Pol Pot's totalitarian rule sought to eradicate Cambodia's cultural identity in pursuit of an agrarian utopia. Intellectuals, artists and religious leaders were systematically murdered in a genocide that claimed nearly 2 million lives. Angkor Wat itself was not spared from the chaos. Though largely abandoned, its surrounding areas became battlegrounds. The temple's ancient stones bore witness to the suffering of a nation torn apart by violence. Landmines riddled the region, and looters plundered artifacts to finance the Khmer Rouge's bloody campaigns. Monks who had once safeguarded the temple were executed or fled, and Angkor Wat stood as a silent survivor amid a landscape of terror. Following the fall of the Khmer Rouge, Cambodia embarked on a slow and painful recovery. Angkor Wat became a symbol of national pride and resilience, but the challenges of preservation were immense. UNESCO designated it a World Heritage Site in 1992, launching international efforts to restore and protect the monument. Yet new threats emerged. Mass tourism, while economically beneficial, placed tremendous strain on the fragile ruins. Foot traffic, pollution, and careless visitors accelerated the degradation of ancient carvings. Corruption within conservation projects led to mismanagement and exploitation of resources. Illegal artifact trafficking remained rampant. Black market demand for Angkorian relics incentivized continued looting, stripping Cambodia of priceless cultural heritage. Efforts to preserve Angkor Wat have not been without controversy. Critics argue that commercialization has eroded the temple's spiritual atmosphere. Local communities have been displaced to make way for tourist infrastructure, raising ethical questions about heritage management. Debates rage over the authenticity of restorations. Some argue that excessive rebuilding risks turning Angkor Wat into a mere replica rather than preserving its original essence. Furthermore, the disproportionate benefits reaped by foreign tour operators and companies have fueled resentment among Cambodians who feel marginalized from their own heritage. Today, Angkor Wat stands as both a testament to human ingenuity and a silent witness to centuries of suffering. Its soaring towers and exquisite bas-reliefs tell a story not only of divine ambition but also of exploitation, war, abandonment and survival. To truly appreciate the beauty of Angkor Wat, one must also acknowledge the dark shadows that haunt its history. Preserving Angkor Wat is not merely about safeguarding stones and statues, it is about honoring the resilience of a people whose spirit endures despite unimaginable hardships. Only by confronting the monument's complex and painful past can we ensure its legacy endures with authenticity and respect for generations to come.